This video is spurred by the fact that I've noticed my ex-best friend, my narcissistic, crazy as fuck, self-centered ex-best friend, has been creeping me because TikTok has lovely features that show you who's been looking at your profile. Also, she's not so secretive about it because she likes some of my videos. So this is my video to say, hi bitch, go away. I do not want you in my life anymore. The last 3, almost 4 years without you have been the best of my life. Ghosting you was the best decision I have ever made, the best feeling I've ever had, other than marrying my husband. To my lovely friends who went through this with me, you know the story. Just keep scrolling unless you want to comment and add something. But this is me talking about my issue that I had that is now resolved because I got rid of her, in hopes I am raising awareness to others about getting rid of their narcissistic friends or family. To preface it all, I was naive. I grew up in a really small town. I didn't always have a lot of friends. And at that point in my life that we reconnected, I was absolutely desperate for friends. I was in a new city, in a new school, and having familiarity was amazing at that point. When we reconnected, she had a very serious boyfriend. They lived in an apartment together. They were considered common law, had pets. So because she didn't live on campus, I was like, hell, I'm gonna introduce her to all my friends, show her around, invite her to parties, because when you don't live on campus, you don't get that same experience. But I noticed off the bat that I was introducing her to people, including her in things, and it wasn't being reciprocated. As well as she would get upset if I didn't include her in something, but if I were to get upset about not being included in something back, she wouldn't care. It's all about her. So far, this sounds like someone you know, run. Before it gets serious. At the time we reconnected, I was single, experiencing life, living a single girl life, dating and hooking up, going to bars, partying, having a great time. In university, that is what you do. She was living vicariously through me because she was in a relationship, and she started to call dibs on the guys that I had dated or hooked up with, just based on what I said to her, / her meeting them through me. And by calling dibs, I mean, like, she would try to basically make it so that I couldn't ever talk to them, touch them, or see them again. And yeah, I know that's real, like, elementary school, middle school shit. Like, immature. Obviously, I am not like that, and I was like, okay, whatever, but, like, that's never gonna happen. But it all came to a really big head when I met the person who is now my husband, because she really liked him. So when she sniffed out that I really liked him, she immediately called dibs on him, which I then told her, yeah, absolutely not. Because with me and my husband, it was literally like love at first sight. And it was hilarious because we were in the car with another one of my friends, and that friend turned around and was like, hell no, you're in a relationship. That's not fair to your boyfriend. You're not allowed to call dibs. You're not a child. So after that ridiculousness, I proceeded to date my now husband, and she would not talk to me for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, she tried to pit all of my friends against me by telling them all sorts of mistruths, lies, and tried to break us up. Which thankfully, my other friends are not fucking stupid like she is. And they came to me immediately and were like, you do realize she's trying to do all of this? So I basically had to sit her down and say, you're being immature. You're in a relationship, a fully committed, serious relationship with this guy that you want to marry. You cannot call dibs. I am single. I can do what I want. I can date who I want, and it is him, and that is it. Basically shook some sense into her, and it worked. And actually, to preface everything else, I talked to my husband, now at the time he was my boyfriend, and told him about her big thing for him. And he was like, even if we were both single, I would never, ever touch her, because he and her, let's put it this way, they were not on the same level. He would never be interested in her. Throughout me and my husband being together, I found out that she was constantly still trying to pit my friends against me, tell them all sorts of mistruths, tell me all sorts of mistruths about her and them, etc., etc., which I've, of course, found out that that was all made up, all based on her just trying to break us apart and get me to be all for her. She also had this habit of trying to cause drama at every single event we went to, like parties or hangouts, etc., by bringing up random shit, making things about her, causing fights with others, causing fights with me, just so that she could be the center of attention. If you are finding similarities in this so far, then you should be running from this friend, family member, etc. Then came our Halloween night. My husband and I threw a party at our place. We were taking our party to another party and we were walking. Her and her boyfriend ended up getting into a full-on fight in the middle of a busy street. They threw a bunch of glass at each other, glass bottles. We had to physically pull them apart, separate them. We brought her back to our place to calm down, and her boyfriend and his friend ended up following back because they were all cut because of all the glass flying around. Long story short, even though we thought everyone had made up, they ended up trashing our apartment. I sent her pictures of all the damage they caused the next day, and she tried to tell me that that wasn't her fault. She didn't have to pay for it. They didn't do any of it, even though we were all there and we were all able to say, yes, you guys literally came through our apartment like a fucking tornado in a fight and ripped our door off our hinges, put holes in our drywall, and then tried to break into our apartment later on. Her and this guy still stayed together, though, for a couple more years, but we all didn't hang out together, mainly because her boyfriend was extremely embarrassed about that night and, you know, any interaction that we all had together. Which, you know what? Hi, Dylan, if you're watching this, which I don't think you would be. I'm sorry for all that you went through with her. It was not your fault. She was crazy. She started it all. She basically was a narcissistic, crazy person. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. So she finally paid for all the damages, etc. Everything was fine. We moved on. The next couple of years were just us being kind of chill, hanging out. We were both in relationships. We would just hang out, have girls' nights, things like that, whatever. She was still 100% making everything about her, causing drama just for the fact of it being all about her. But as you all are probably wondering, I was still naive as fuck. I really didn't have a lot of friends at that point. So I was lonely and desperate, and especially for a girlfriend. When her and that guy finally broke up, though, everything was great. She was a really good person. She became a really good friend. We got really close again. And she started to live her single girl dream. Basically what she wanted to do the whole time she was with that guy when I was out being a single Pringle. And I was so happy for her. She was finally enjoying her life. And, like, not as narcissistic, self-centered, etc. But then she started to hang out with these girls that she was working with and started to do some really bad, fucked up stuff. Namely, so she was drinking and driving constantly and, like, bragging about it, like she was proud of it. Saying shit like, oh my god, I was drinking and driving last night, like, on my way home from the bar, and I accidentally was going the wrong way on the highway. Like, what the actual fuck? No, I started to get really embarrassed to be friends with her. And then it even got worse because she was constantly dating these guys and stuff. She was building herself up. Like, she was getting, like, stupid confidence to the point where she would fish for compliments from anybody. And, like, as a good friend, you're supposed to build each other up, right? But it was like every time I would go over there, she'd be like, how do I look? And I go, wow, like, you look good. Like, be a good friend and stuff. And then she'd go, I know. I just wanted to hear you say it. Like, really embarrassing. She would just blatantly do that all over the place to random people in front of me, and it was so embarrassing. But, like, she was so in her own little fantasy, she didn't care. Then she met the guy that I don't even know if she's still dating him now because I don't really follow her or care about her. But she basically cradle robbed him. He was 17, just turned 18, fresh out of high school, and she was like 22, 23. And I was immediately like, hey, like, that's kind of borderline illegal. And she started to have problems with their relationship immediately. And I was like, oh, here we go again. I cannot stick around for this. Because of what happened the last time. It was just a whole fucking mess. And it just made her behavior 100 times worse. And also at the time it was COVID and she was making up all sorts of excuses as why we couldn't hang out because of immunocompromisation, whatever, which I understood 100%. But then she was hanging out with these other girls who she was drinking and driving with and doing really stupid things and making really poor choices with. So the biggest factor in me getting rid of her, ghosting her, I was engaged to be married to my husband. I did not see her as a part of my wedding, being invited to it, because I knew she would just turn it into a drama fest about her. So if this sounds like anyone you know, the behavior, please run.